Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Tamika. This is Library of Tomes, where I talk to you about the bookish things going on in my life. Today we're doing the anti-TBR tag. I have some thoughts and opinions. I'm ready to share them with you. So I saw this tag going around last year and I really liked it and I wanted to do it and it just got away from me and I wasn't able to, but I'm gonna do the anti-TBR tag and I'm really excited because I want to be negative and tell you all the things I do not want to read. So just say this in advance as a disclaimer, I don't care if you like these books, and I obviously hope that you don't care that I don't want to read them or I don't care about them. This is not a reflection on like the people who like these books or any way. I just don't want to read them. So reading is subjective. That's my disclaimer. Question number 1. A popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. So I am sorry, Megan. I love you. The entire Winston Brothers series by Penny Reed. Small town romance, just, I'm interested in it. I am. Small town romance. The thing I'm not interested in is supporting Penny Reed. I know that a lot of people love her, but after some discussion with other people in the romance community and doing my own research, everything I've learned, I don't really feel comfortable reading her. I think for me, on top of having a white supremacist in the first book of the series, for one, I think the reason I'm so I'm so not interested in reading Penny Reed is because she had the situation at the beginning of COVID where she like wanted to clear out her entire like author group and like she wanted to have this, she wanted someone to comment something only a Penny Reed stan would like know, and that just made me really uncomfortable because she would remove you from the group if you didn't comment something. And if I'm supporting an author enough to be in their Facebook group, I don't want to be removed just because I can't comment something a Penny Reed stan would like say. So I just am not interested in the series. I told Megan I would read it, and I think that I am taking that statement back. I love you, Megan. I'm sorry. If you don't know who Megan is, she's from This Past Romance. She's my in real life bestie. I love her a lot, and she loves Cletus and she loves Penny Reed. I just don't think I want to read it. I love you though. I just don't know if I'm the right one for it. Plus, from what I can tell, they're really long and I'm just not really into really long romances. All right, question number 2. A classic book or author you don't have any interest in reading. Okay, so listen, I'm not going with a classic, I'm going with a modern classic. And when you hear this one, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, me too. Actually probably not, but here, listen, hear me out. So I have absolutely none, not a single dime of interest in the Bridgertons or Julia Quinn. Specifically the Duke and I just don't care. This was released in 2000, so this is a modern classic because it was released 21 years ago. I'm tired of people talking about it. I'm just so tired of hearing about the Bridgertons, and I'm tired of seeing all the stuff about it, and I'm tired of I'm just tired of it. I don't have any interest. I don't have any desire. I don't have any want to, know how, care to, anything. I don't care. I don't want to read it. I don't want to hear about it. I feel like I've heard a lot of conversation about it and I've heard a lot of justifications for things, and to be quite honest, I have not read the series and I will not read the series. I'm not interested in it. But I have heard from people that I know and that I trust their opinions on books and stuff. They've talked about this one scene where our heroine rapes our hero. I'm not interested in that. I just don't want to read it. I don't want to experience that. From what I've seen and from the context that I have heard about this book, the scene was not done in good taste. I don't feel like it was trying to drive a message home. I just think it's not cool, and I don't want to read it. I absolutely have no desire to read that. So this one is a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. Lucia Franco. Okay, listen. My dark romance queens out there, hear me out on this, all right? This is one I'm not getting behind. Okay, listen, as a person who has dealt with sexual assault as a minor, as someone who has been targeted by older men at the age of like 14, when, you know, I looked like a freaking baby. You knew I was a kid, right? And they were like 20. As someone who has been a target of older men and predatory men, and who has had unpleasant sexual experiences, minors and romances are a hard sell for me anyway. I cannot and almost will not get behind any book that has a minor as the heroine and she gets into a sexual relationship with an older man. I can get behind a minor getting in a relationship with someone like 20. So if they're like 20 years old and the main character is like 17, I will be able to get behind that. That one does not feel as gross. The age difference is not as bad. It's still not my favorite thing, but it's not the same as a heroine who is 16, 15, 16 in the story, and then she's getting with like a 40-year-old man. I can't get behind it. I cannot. I won't. I'm not gonna read this book. I'm not gonna read it. It's gonna make me uncomfortable. It's gonna make me unhappy. I'm gonna get angry. I don't want to get angry, okay? I don't want to. That's why I'm not reading this book. So listen, I hear you. I hear you love it. I know everyone loves it. To each their own. But here's the thing. I can't get behind something that's predatory like that. I could have got behind The Wild, but the fact that that book had a 17-year-old character just turned 17 with a 40-year-old man, that was one of the hard limits in it. That was one of the parts that got me to say no on that book. Like I said, it is that one thing alone. It is predatory. I don't like it. I will read dark. I will read dark. I will read a lot of dark stuff. But here, the thing is, I have limits too. I have hard limits. And for me, minors with older men are typically hard limits. I say they're a hard sell because I can deal with minors in certain situations, but to be realistic, they are a hard limit. So I have absolutely no interest in reading about this poor girl who has a relationship with her teacher, her gymnast, her instructor, whatever he is. I know she's doing gymnastics and he's teaching her how to do the flippy flips. I don't care. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. No, thank you. All right, number 4. This one is an author that you have read a couple books from, but you've decided their books are just not for you. For me, this one is LJ Shin. I have read 2 different books by LJ Shin. I read Defy, and then I also read Dirty Headlines. I think I actually gave Dirty Headlines like a 4-star, and I enjoyed it, but like, I just have realized from reading her books, they're just not for me. They just don't hit the thing that I want when I'm reading a book. They're fine. They're really, really steam heavy, and I've not really talked about this, but like, I'm demisexual, so it's kind of weird for me, like as a romance reader, to like I like the steam in the books, but here's the problem with like some of the books that I read. As someone who's demisexual, I want to feel an emotional connection with the characters. Like, I want to be invested in the characters before they start, you know, doing the do. So like, for me, as someone who wants to have an emotional connection and has to have an emotional connection with someone before I have any kind of attraction like that, it is just hard for me to read books that are just smut. Like, that's just the end of it. I can't really love a book that's just smut. That is nothing against smut. That is just a personal thing for me. LJ Shin has a lot of smut in her books, and I feel like the smut happens before I am even able to register and connect with the characters, so they just don't work for me. And that's fine if they work for you. They just don't work for me because I don't understand it. I'm not feeling it by that point. Like, within like 3 chapters, I'm not invested enough. So then we have question number 5. This one is a genre you have no interest in, or a genre that you've tried to get into and you just can't. So for me, this one is fantasy romance. I wish I could get into fantasy romance. I really do. I wish that I could enjoy it, but I just am not a fantasy reader. There have been very few examples of fantasy romances that I've enjoyed and I've actually gotten into, one of them being Akamath, Akawar, you know, Akatar, the entire series. Other than that, I really couldn't tell you a fantasy romance I've really, really liked. I have read some Jennifer L. Armentrout and enjoyed it, but it was a little more paranormal for that. Well, actually, it was more science fiction. But typically, I can't get into high fantasy or any kind of fantasy. Like, there has to be a very, very solid in real world experience for me, and I'm just not I'm just not a huge fan of fantasy, and especially not fantasy romance. It's the type of romance that I have not been able to get into, and I don't know when I'll ever be able to, or if I can ever get into it. I literally just mailed Izzy a copy of a fantasy romance that I hauled that someone told me was way more fantasy than romance. So I mean, I just don't like fantasy romance. I'm just not super interested in it, and it's just not something for me. I wish I could write. I wish I could like enjoy it. I just don't. Okay, number 6, a book that you have bought and you will never read. I'm gonna go with one I bought and I don't think I'll ever read, and I'll explain why. So this is Wrapped with Risk. This is a Christmas novella written by Missy Ann, which if y'all watch my worst books of the year, I read 2 short stories by this author and absolutely did not like any of her book. This is the only one I have left. I bought this because I wanted to support a local indie author to me, and are we shocked that I did not love literally either of those things? So now I'm over here like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna read this or not. This, like I said, it's a Christmas romance. The story, I don't even remember what the premise is. I don't really care to like read the back to tell you what the premise is. I don't think I'll ever read this. I'm worried that I won't ever read it. I've kept it on my shelf just so I could like, maybe one day I'll actually pick this up. The likelihood is slim to none. I'm kind of in like a limbo with it of, do I even want to give this author another shot? Because I really thought that I wanted to, but like her short stories were just so bad. I don't know if I can sit through 100 and some pages of what I endured with those. So that's the situation I'm in here. Question number 7 is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series that you started and have DNF. I could easily go with the Off Balance series here. And just because my mind is going completely blank, that's what I'm gonna throw in here. I'm gonna say the Off Balance series. I have no interest in reading it, and I will not be reading it. So yeah, that's my answer. I don't, like I said, the Winston Brothers series, I don't have any interest in that. And that's kind of like the only ones that like really pop up that I don't really have any interest in right now. I'm sure there's like some really long like paranormal series, the Bridgertons. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a really long paranormal series, but this is just, those are the ones that are coming to me off the top of my head that I just don't want to read. All right, and the last question is a new release you have no interest in reading. Okay, so my answer for this one is again a little controversial, and that is Eve Brown. I don't remember what the first part of that is, but the first one was Chloe Brown, then we got Dani Brown, and now we have Eve Brown, and I just don't care about the Brown sisters. I was really indifferent on Chloe Brown, but the more I've like thought about it, the less I enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm going with Eve Brown. I can't remember what the actual title is, but that's the sister that this one's about. I have no interest in reading that. I don't know when it comes out. I know it comes out in 2021, and I just don't care. I just don't want to read it. So that's my new release I don't want to read. So that is the anti-TBR tag. I hope you liked it. I'm sorry that my opinions are probably not as popular, or they're probably not popular at all actually. They're my unpopular opinions, I guess. So yeah, if you want to read any of the books I talked about, I obviously will leave links for them in the description if you want to go check them out. There are links in the description for all my socials if you don't hate me after this and you still want to be my friend. So yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye everyone.